Well, the main pitfalls are for any country that's considering nuclear energy, and that is that this is a very dangerous technology. It's a very slow technology to implement. It's a very expensive technology, and finally, it may not be necessary. There are other options that need to be considered. Just coming back to the dangers, I think the principal danger really is that it offers ways of producing nuclear weapons, and even if a government does not proceed with nuclear weapons program based on nuclear power, the neighbouring countries may well worry that a government has that possibility. So there is a danger in the ASEAN region that if one country goes nuclear, there'll be a kind of a nuclear arms race or a nuclear power station race that could eventually lead to a nuclear arms race. So that is of great concern. And of course, handling the nuclear wastes is a major problem because there is no final solution yet anywhere in the world. There are only temporary solutions. Storing the waste temporarily above ground, so that is a real problem. And for a country like Singapore that doesn't have a lot of land to spare, siting the nuclear power station will be a major problem. And it may be much easier to connect to neighbouring countries with transmission lines and rather consider trading in electricity. Could I just go on a bit about the slowness of the technology? Because people have the wrong impression that this is a technology that can be implemented really fast, but the truth is that this is the slowest of all electricity generating technologies. It requires a lot of infrastructure, not just hardware, but it requires creating the regulations, the regulatory body, the culture of safety, the trained workers who can locally maintain the nuclear power station and operate it. It's a huge task, and I would say that if a decision is made by a government for the first time to have nuclear power, they should count on it taking at least 15 years before it actually generates any electricity. And of course, that long time delay means there's a lot of interest to be paid during construction as well, because the physical construction takes a long time as well. So this is not a small undertaking. And for a small country, the small country needs to consider very carefully whether this is a wise direction to take. Well, the question seems to presuppose that governments are going to make a choice for nuclear power, and I would question that, and I would say that what governments really need to do is look at the whole raft of potential energy sources, and also in the context of using energy far more efficiently, because there is enormous potential in many countries for reducing energy wastage, dramatically cutting unnecessary energy use. And this really is, even in highly developed countries, this potential has not been fully realized. Probably only in Northern Europe have countries really developed efficient energy use well. There's also a wide range of renewable energy sources, and in the ASEAN region, energy from biofuels, that's organic materials, crop residues, forest residues, may well be quite large. And I'm not thinking here of converting them to liquid fuels, but rather combusting the residues, burning them in small power stations to generate power locally where it's needed. It's pretty hard to compare the economics of nuclear power with the economics of renewable sources, because nuclear power costs have been escalating so quickly since the year 2002. So this is around the world. So it's very hard to predict what nuclear power will cost, for example, in 2020 or 2025 when maybe the first power station in this region is actually built. Over that period, it's quite likely that solar power will actually be cheaper than nuclear power. The cost estimates that have been made in the United States have escalated so rapidly that some estimates, including from those from Wall Street, from investors who consider investing in energy sources, these estimates have become so high that some of them even suggest that nuclear power may be comparable in price with solar power now. So this is a difficult comparison to make. However, in the Asian region, some of the cheapest renewable energy sources may not be available on a large scale. So this is not actually a region of high wind speeds, for example. So wind power, which is growing so rapidly in Europe and also in the United States, may not actually have big potential in the Asian region. But on the other hand, there is potential for energy from crop residues, for solar power a bit further down the track when it's not so expensive now as it is now. And it's worth exploring geothermal power potential, because certainly Indonesia has a lot of geothermal power potential, and other regions may also have sufficient heat in the earth to generate power. And again, this could be tapped by Singapore, for example, by transmission links to its neighbouring countries. So there is a lot of potential, I think, that needs to be explored from different renewable energy sources and, of course, energy efficiency.